So, in my wide array of looking at things over the exciting weekend, because obviously nothing exciting happened over the weekend. Oh, I was looking at different analyses of the assassination attempt and comparing it to security, which it has a lot to do with physical security in many ways and your own like private protection per se. Is the fact that there were a lot of like layers of security that were passed through in order for something like this to happen on Saturday. So, as of recording, there are a few more details out, and there are a couple other things that'll come out in later videos that will cover more of the technical side of things, but more the physical side of things. As I've been looking at things, thinking about things, listening to things about various people talking about how things lined up. Oh, I've noticed some people have less of a background in understanding how things work, and other people have more understanding of how things work. So you've got like people like Muda who were talking about the whole thing and basically didn't quite understand some aspects of some of the how some of the marksmanship works and how some of the security works and things like that. And there were a few other people that were kind of the same way. And so that's more of what I want to like focus on is kind of the things, kind of bring all these things together and about how the different security measures that would have been in place based on like governmental military experience from people that I've heard from like two or three different sources about it, and like they all say basically the same thing on that basic stuff, and how some people have misunderstood some aspects of it because of their lack of experience in the way some things work as to what goes on that way. So, first of all, when you look at the map, obviously everybody's done their map thing. And so you've had the stands up here. You had, like, you could clearly see in some footage the Secret Service sniper up here and looking off in this direction. So, and then obviously you had in about this area was where the shooter was shooting from. So you're talking, when you look at it, you're talking 120 meters or about between 400 and 500 feet is the distance that was shot. So when you're talking from a context of he's shooting a rifle at that distance, and most, when you talk to a lot of people, someone that is familiar with their gun, particularly the AR platform, that 120-meter distance to shoot it should be really easy, actually, because that's one in a military context. That is the easy mode, like training that you do, is like at a range shorter than that. So in that context, when you're thinking about the security of things, this should have been secured up here. Like, even talking to my dad and like listening to other people, this building here, it should have easily been secure. You should have at least had a box of donuts and two cops up on this part of the roof in particular because it was higher than the rest of the buildings here. And then on top of it, the water tower over here, if you didn't have someone on top of the water tower, you should have been able to clear the water tower and then post a couple of cops and a box of donuts at the bottom of it, at the ladder, because no one would be able to get up to it because you've got the ladder here. And then even if they were to try to climb up here, you have to get pretty close to climb up there through one of the other ways. So this shot should not have taken place based on like the number of layers that of security that there should have been at this event. This building would have been like swiped away. And like even then with talking to my dad about it. So when we go into street view, you can see that like there are pallets right here. You've got chairs right here. He's talking about the details of it. It's like, okay, we need to clear these pallets away so no one can use them to climb up onto the roof up here. If we go over here, these chairs should be cleared away because you can get on top of here and then further get on top of here. Or if you really want to, use this chair, climb up here, take this chair up here, climb up on there with that chair, and you're good to go. And then you swipe over this way. Now, when you look at the footage, it was a ladder in this alcove here that you can't quite see from in this shot here on any of the street maps. So that ladder was put there somehow, and Secret Service either A, didn't do a sweep before the event, or it was put there after the event started. And there was no one watching this part here. And when a police officer got up there, the shooter kind of turned his rifle around and basically had time to aim and make the shot. So you can see even from here in the parking lot, you've got a pretty clear view of the area here. But this point here might be level with it, might not be, but you can't quite get a good read on it. And plus, then from here, the barn here, you had the sniper there, and who knows how easily he could see the shooter from there. So you kind of had a couple things going on there that way with just that position alone. But looking at other things too, so you had, my dad pointed out the water tower, which was a great ideal place to shoot from. You've got that straight shot this way from it. And it's a much higher point and would have been higher to get at. But it is, depending on where you start from, if you're on the walkway around it, you're going to be an open target, and it's harder to escape from there because you've got the one exit point. Whereas here you did have a little bit more of an escape, but the ladder was placed right in here, thereabouts, and that was your one way of escape if you didn't want to risk breaking your legs, hopping, and then down. So you did have that. There was also like, okay, did they have security on this building here, on this one here? And then like you've got the body of water here, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. You've got rooftop coverage all around it for about 500 meters, because that's basically the easy mode shot that we're looking at. So that would have easily been within what? You would have had like these included in it, like how it went out, goes out pretty far. Half a kilometer goes out pretty far. And you're talking that is like the easy mode shot, basically. So then you go this way, and you've got easily some of these within that distance over here. You do have the residential, which provides some cover, and that's the other aspect as I was looking around, is that the tree line here with the suburb right next to it provides obstacles and coverage for some assailant to cause trouble. And you've got a house right here or right here that's right along the tree line. This one, maybe. You've got that one right there. But it's debatable whether you could hit it from there because of this barn right in the way. So your easier shots would have been like probably right about there. And so with that line of sight, you would have had this to that. So the trees could have possibly been partially in the way before you get a good shot. So the other aspect I came across when dealing with it was how much security detail there was. They said they were strapped for security detail with the Secret Service because they were pulled away elsewhere, which a lot of people analyzing it, military people analyzing it, seems to have gone like, okay, there were seemingly enough bodies to cover it. You could definitely see a sniper here. They say there was one right here. And then you possibly should have had one right here or here at the credit union. Maybe possibly here that could like cross-verify over this way. So you had this one here that had the field of view over here as well. You had this one over here that should have had this field of view. And then you have this one that basically covers this field of view that way. But this one in particular was looking off in this direction anyway. Now, some people that have more experience with firing that way and dealing with some of this stuff, you sometimes run into this, like they were mentioning, you sometimes run into the scope vision where you're always looking down your scope and you forget. It's kind of like tunnel vision, where you're looking down and you're scanning around and your field of vision becomes very limited because of that scope. Whereas if you occasionally peek out, you get a full view of what's overall going on. So you see the dude peering through his scope, two of them basically peering through their scopes. And one of them looks up, and then they kind of like somewhat seem to like jump and somewhat get a beat on him. One of them does. And so you get that happening over here. Whatever he saw kind of makes him jump, and then it takes a bit for it to focus in. The kid over here had such a nice view and opportunity to aim, even though he was being yelled at by like bystanders from the ground for like 1 or 2 minutes. So he lined up the shot, and it happened to be that Trump, turning his head, avoided a whole brain splatter. And so there was only an ear piercing that was given. All in all, when it comes to like things like what Muda said, like a few people were saying that like, oh, this was like was somewhat difficult shot to make. And it's like he's using an AR rifle and has that line of sight and is within like 120 meters, which is well within easy mode of making that shot, and he still missed. Like, some people are blaming like, oh, the wind conditions mattered, and yes, wind conditions matter when it comes to like making a shot like that. But like, even my dad criticizes like calling the shooter a sniper. Like 120 meters is nothing. Like, that's DC sniper distances, and the DC sniper was hardly a sniper. So yeah, so the distance was really close, so not really a sniper, but he had plenty of time to work it. So did the Secret Service really have their eyes on him? You see, he looks up, so he probably saw him, like, readjusted his aim. And you have to think that when you're in a powered scope like what they're using, your tiny movements make a lot of a difference. So you can go from here all the way like beyond here with a scope that they may be using. So, and if you've seen the pictures, obviously not going to show any of those. They do pretty well at firing at targets. So if you're a trained marksman, then you're going to do decently well at getting there. But sometimes it takes time to get the aim right and do some of the math in order to figure out how you need to adjust for different wind conditions and things like that. So, was it an easy shot? Yeah. Would wind affect certain rounds all that much? Probably less at this distance than at a greater distance, like over down yonder this way. So, yeah. Again, this really shouldn't have happened because even this building was identified as a security vulnerability, and it was not watched, which is kind of the biggest part. This one, which is probably why one of the agents here looked startled, is the fact that how did the heck did someone get up here without anybody noticing? And so there was some detail where like, okay, the kid got stopped trying to enter and basically got let go and then went around, came in this way. And so security detail would not have just been like in the venue here. It would have been further out as well to avoid this even happening. So there were multiple layers of security detail, keeping an eye on things, making sure that people don't get into the place that should have made it not possible to get in. So it leads a lot of people, especially those with experience, to think of two things. Either A, it was incompetence, or B, there was intention behind it. So when it comes to your own safety, these are like considerations that you think about when it comes to your own security. Is you're looking at what kind of things pose a danger. If you like, first of all, you avoid a dangerous environment. First off, that's like your first line of defense. But if you have to go into there, or if the dangerous environment is coming to you, then this is where you start thinking about, okay, what kind of stuff in the battlescape is going to possibly open a venue to cause me harm that I don't want. And so you're looking at the obvious things, and this was very much low hanging fruit. Like, just this roof alone was low hanging fruit with how open that shot was and perfect. And then on top of it, possibly being a bad aim and consuming too much soy. But anyway, you kind of, when you're like the local residents, okay, the president's coming, it still poses a danger. You think like, okay, he's got Secret Service, this, that, and the other. It should keep most things pretty safe, but you still have that opportunity to where your danger risk heightens up just because the president's in the area, or a former president, I should say, and a presidential candidate. So you have to run in and think about some of these things, especially now with the way the world is changing, and especially the United States as a country. So, considerations for your own self, applications. We all don't have Secret Service or other security to keep us safe, but we can take these things into consideration and watch out for our own skin. And in the process of watching out for our own skin, we end up watching the skin of other people, because we are eliminating threats that could cause us harm that would also cause other people harm as well. And if you found this helpful, like trying to synthesize everything down, like, comment, subscribe, do that kind of thing. Links and stuff are in the description for like Discord and things like that, since as of recording, I still don't have very much of my data recovered at all. So I am still figuring that bit out. Anyway,